Hello, welcome to Chats with Colleen. It's Colleen, and I'm here with Sean.
Hello.
He's been MIA for like a month.
It's been a few weeks. It's been a few weeks. It has.
So what's new?
You know what? I just went on this wild, a lot of things actually. Oh my God, I started a new job, but more fun and exciting. I just went on this massive, incredible trip to Japan. It was so insane.
Oh my God, Japan?
Yeah, Japan.
Wow. How long did it take you to get there on the plane?
You know what's so crazy? We flew Delta, and I did it because we all had credit card points, and it was like, I think it was 106,000 miles, which we had that much, of course. We cashed in, and with Delta, if you live in Central Florida, you have to go to the hub in Atlanta to go anywhere, which is kind of frustrating, but it is what it is. Well, so we flew to Atlanta for an hour, which was whatever, and then we flew from Atlanta to Japan directly, and it was 14 and a half hours.
Oh my God.
Which was so insane. And so I think the whole trip was about 17 hours, which it's funny, like thinking about, when I say that out loud, it doesn't seem like it was that long, but it was actually that long. It was so
like
crazy.
A whole day. So I've never been on a plane for that long. I don't think I've ever sat still for that long. So do you just get up a couple times every hour and just make sure you don't get a blood clot?
You know what's so funny? Everyone kept saying that to me, like, oh, you're going to get blood clots for sitting so long. But I'm like, I don't even, like, people fly that distance all the time.
Right.
Like, I don't, like, in my mind, I'm like, I don't know how I could. The two guys that I flew with, they actually wore compression socks. Granted, they're both like 25. Like, literally, I don't know what they thought was going to happen. They wore compression socks. It was interesting, though, because his mom's a nurse, and I guess she had told us, it's common for trips like that for people to just get up and just walk laps.
Yeah, walk laps. I would say just move your legs, move them, like massage them.
Yeah, like keep them moving.
It probably doesn't help, but I just feel like any movement you're doing, it's just not stagnant or whatever.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say this. Like, I'm like 4 feet tall, so like I hardly touch the ground sitting in my chair. So like it was really easy for me to move my feet. I felt bad. My friend Brandon, he actually is like 6'3".
Oh wow.
So like we did pay for Comfort Plus. It was like an extra, I think it was $100, but again, we got the flights for free.
Oh
so
wow.
Like, whatever.
So they upgraded.
It was, it was worth it. And when we got placed originally, I was actually on the aisle. He was in the window, and I felt so bad because he's a big guy. And so we ended up like swapping. He's 6'3", like it just doesn't work.
That's like Chris. You need more space. It's like you don't think about it.
No.
Yeah.
And so we swapped, and then it was funny, like that whole trip. I didn't really feel that claustrophobic. But again, I'm 4 feet tall, like I'm 5'5.5", for the record. But no, it's just like I can't explain it. Yeah, like I kept telling everyone, it's like you just watch 6 long movies. Obviously, it's impossible.
Were you able to sleep?
So I think I might have slept maybe an hour or two the whole way, which was really unfortunate. It's really odd because you leave in sunlight and then you land in sunlight because Japan is actually 13 hours ahead.
Oh.
So like we left at, I want to say, I guess we departed Atlanta at like 11 a.m. And then we landed in Japan at like 10 a.m. It was so I think it was 10 or 11
the next day because they're ahead.
Yes, which is even more bizarre. And so like it's almost like you never had a nighttime.
Yeah.
Because you just missed it.
You missed the whole day.
You actually missed the nighttime.
Yeah, the whole night.
Yeah. And so you're just sitting on this plane for it was like 14 hours, and then you just land and it's daytime again.
Was the plane full?
It was actually pretty packed. Yeah.
Wow.
It was like pretty packed. It was the bigger plane where it's got the 3 sets of seats in a row. And it was a massive, it was a really big plane.
Do you think most of the people that were traveling were going for travel like you, or were they going for work?
So, you know what? That is such a great question. It seemed like a mix. One thing I'd never experienced too, and I've never flown internationally. Whenever I've left the country, it was on a cruise ship. They actually had a person to speak Japanese over the intercom. So they did like English announcements and then Japanese announcements. But most of the people flying appeared to be American.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, it could have been a mix. Like we really didn't talk to anyone. We were very just I think everyone was just kind of in their thing. There was like some like small families as well. But it's so bizarre because you literally, to get to Japan from Florida, you essentially fly diagonally up the country, and then you like, excuse me, and then you like go into Asia. It's so wild. You go like over Alaska, and then you just like keep going. It feels like forever. It's wild stuff.
Is it? Well, I guess when you're that high up, flying that far, you don't really see anything below. You just see clouds.
You just see clouds. And then, like, everyone, they even said, they're like, you might want to close the thing, because it's going to be bright for so long. And so I remember there was like this kid, like 2 rows up, and he kept like just flapping open the window, and the sunshine would just come in so bright. It was like just piercing to your eyes. It was very extreme.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then the only unfortunate part of the flight, I would say, was I do have a dairy allergy, and unfortunately, like, it would not, on the Delta app, it would not let me mark I had a dairy allergy. And so they served like 3 meals on that flight, which was kind of insane.
Oh, wow.
And so they didn't have like any dairy-free options. So like I just kind of ate around
the cheese or the dairy, whatever.
Which was unfortunate. Coming home, we figured it out.
You think they would have something like that? Because with all the allergies that's specific, I mean, maybe you have to call specifically and like tell them.
I guess so. And it's funny because that's what they said. And I said, I did try though, like multiple times on the app, and it kept being grayed out. And then oddly enough, coming home, it let me do it. But then coming home, they thought it was dairy only that I was requesting.
Oh, gosh.
And so it was just only dairy. Like, it was so ridiculous. I'm like, you need to get it together, Delta. Like, this is not okay.
Here's a pack of yogurt.
Like, literally, they actually gave yogurt.
Go sit in the toilet the whole flight.
Literally, that's what happened.
Oh, my God.
And then they had to, like, go to first class, and she's, like, trying to get food there. And then they ended up giving me, like, pork and something else, and it was okay.
It was okay.
But it was an experience, to say the least.
I've never been on a plane that long. I think the farthest I've gone, it was, like, California here.
That's pretty far.
It's pretty far, but we stopped like in Texas, so I was able to eat and get food. So then maybe we just had some snacks on there, but I don't think I've ever had a meal. Maybe years ago, it was more if we were flying from New York to here, they would give you like a meal, but right now they don't really do any stuff like that.
Not really, no. It's like usually I'm used to like they give you soda and then like cookies.
Or crackers or pretzels or something because it's just like a couple hours. So you're just getting like a snack, and then you just eat at the airport. Yeah. Or you can take something on with you.
Yeah, if you buy it in the terminal.
If you buy it in the terminal. So when you got off the plane and you're in Japan.
Yes, yeah.
Is it like a complete culture shock?
So yes, actually it was really bizarre. We get off the plane. There's signs in Japanese everywhere. There's Japanese people coming up to you. You're listening to the intercom. It's just completely in Japanese. There is nothing is American, no English. Like, it is remarkably foreign. That was actually the culture shock for me.
And do you speak any Japanese?
Not at all.
Okay.
No. I know like arigato and then konnichiwa. And then it was unfortunate because throughout the trip, I don't know why, I think I was losing my mind. I started mixing those things up. So we'd be getting out of a taxi till like, the taxi driver dropped us off and I'd be like, konnichiwa as I'm closing the door, like saying hello and I'm closing the door to leave. Like it was it was a very interesting, that was a very interesting part.
And are the Japanese receptive to Americans?
So we actually had really good experiences. Everyone for the most part was very receptive. They were so kind. It was funny. Like we would go up, like be like, oh, we know these like 3 Japanese words. And then we would go to like recite them and they would just reply back, oh, thank you so much. It's in English. And it definitely, it deflated our sails, but it was also like really nice because I think they realized like we just stuck out like sore thumbs. It was really wild. I bowed it. I would just say, konnichiwa, konnichiwa. Like I just kept bowing at everyone because I didn't want anyone to think I was like being disrespectful.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And then what's there to do there?
So we did like a bunch of different things. So when we landed, originally we landed in Tokyo and we went right to the part of Tokyo where Tokyo Disneyland is. And so we were at we were at Tokyo Disney Sea the first day was a throwaway day because we landed and we were exhausted.
Right.
The next day we went to Tokyo Disneyland. And that was really fun and exciting. Oh, I'm lying. Tokyo Disney Sea, which is like, I guess it's almost like an animal kingdom, but in Tokyo. And then we did Tokyo Disneyland, and then we did another day at Tokyo Disney Sea. And then because we didn't want it to be just a theme park trip. We did actually want to experience Japan. And so it was weird. Getting flights was kind of difficult because we wanted to start our trip in Tokyo and then go to Osaka. But you could not fly out of Osaka with Delta. It was really difficult. You had to come back to Tokyo. So we set up our trip so that we would start in Tokyo and then come back to Tokyo in the end to leave. And so we started in Tokyo. We did those few days at Disney. And then we went to Osaka and we saw like the Osaka Castle. We saw the Omida Sky Building. We saw just the sights. We like went around to like gardens and like parks. We went to I believe the Imperial Dynasty is also, and if I messed that up, I'm so sorry to whoever's listening. I believe it's the Imperial Dynasty, Imperial Temple or something.
Yeah, there's temples.
It was like this massive, very famous, beautiful temple that we went to. We saw where they fought wars. It was actually really crazy and so like culturally significant. I think I was and I'm not putting anything down. It was interesting going to Osaka Castle. There's this massive, really beautiful temple that you see from like, it's so far away because it's so massive. I guess it was built in the 1900s. This is what my brother was telling me. And so it's so like just culturally so rich and old looking from the outside. And then you go in and it's like this modernized like museum, which was like, it kind of took us all aback because we were expecting to see like something from like the 1600s, this interior. It was just all just completely renovated with like just exhibits and like art on display. And that was one thing we were a little disappointed with Osaka, just because again, like when you see this massive, it's so overwhelming. This building is so big and it takes up so much room. And then you go in it and it's just a museum.
So they made
like 5 stories.
Yeah. So they remade it to
be modernized for tourism. Yeah. Which was like I was just kind of surprised by that. And, again, it was still incredible. It was so amazing. We did a day in Kyoto. We went to the arches. We went to, oh my gosh, I always, for some reason, forget Kyoto, and I don't know why. We did a few different things in Kyoto, which was really exciting. And then we did do a day at Universal Japan, which is in Osaka as well. And then I'm trying to think what else we did in Osaka. I feel like after that, we ended up we went back to Tokyo, and I think we were there for 4 days. And we just did so much stuff. We went all around Tokyo. It was so crazy. We did a bunch of we saw Tokyo Tower. We saw, oh my gosh, just like so much. I wish I had like a list in front of me.
It seems like
it was a lot.
It's a lot of, walking is most stuff.
Walking is so it's everything.
They don't really drive there.
No one really drives. There are taxis, and there's also Uber. And it's funny because I was told there was not Uber. There is an Uber. It is definitely more expensive. Their taxi system, though, operates like Uber. So if you download, I think it's like the Go app or something, you can order taxis just like you order an Uber. And that was also really helpful as well, like just getting around. It's so wild. The taxi drivers there, they wear like suits and white gloves, and it's very fancy.
Oh.
Nothing like here. Like you jump.
Is it expensive?
So, it's so funny. You would think that, but it's not. Like they're just Toyotas, like that are just bigger cars. But no, like it was like decently priced. And then the yen right now to US dollars, I think it's about 1,000 yen to like $6 US. And with some things, it's like apples to apples. Like if you go over there expecting to buy a cheaper MacBook, forget it. It's literally the same price if you do the conversion. But like food, like all of our meals were like $8, like $7, $8. Even with alcohol sometimes. It was very cheap, inexpensive to eat there, which was very nice. Yeah. Even like in the theme parks, I take that back. Universal was very expensive. I don't know why. Even more money than Disney, which we were kind of surprised by. But yeah, that was a really interesting part as well. Actually, I forgot about the costs of everything is so different.
With the money. And would you compare like the theme parks there or similar to the theme parks here in the US?
So their Tokyo Disneyland is very similar to our Magic Kingdom. We have the exact same castle. Some of the rides are similar. It's odd though, because they have like things that you would only find at Disneyland in California and not here in like, Florida at Walt Disney World. But they were still really cool. Tokyo Disney Sea is like, it's very unique. And I know when they built it, it was supposed to be. It's not really like any other Disney park around the world. It's about like it's ocean themed.
Are there animals? Are there all?
So it's a funny no. There's
life?
really no. It sounds so odd when I say that because you think of like SeaWorld, which is ocean themed obviously, but with this, it's more so just like their themed IPs, like like Finding Nemo, and then just water-based attractions. I'm trying to think like what were big things. They do have like a Tower of Terror, they've got, which is not as cool as ours. They've got my brain is working so well. They've got, what else do they got? They have like different water attractions that are outside. They have oh my gosh. So their biggest attraction, I guess, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of the movie Journey to the Center of the Earth. So it was a Disney movie. Well, they have this massive volcano in the center of the theme park, and it has like a ride in it that's really cool. They've got like a lot of it's like, because I believe part of the theming is also discovery. So like there's like a whole Magellan themed area with like sailboats and really interactive experiences that kind of deal with the stars and the ocean and like things similar. That was actually really very cool. But yeah, it was really, that was a fun part. It wasn't, I would say they weren't my favorite Disney parks, but they were really cool.
They were cool.
Yeah. I didn't they just opened a new Fantasyland literally the week after we came back, which is really unfortunate. But things happen. So maybe on our next trip.
Yeah. So how about the food? How is the food there?
So much beef. I've never had so much beef. There is beef everywhere you go. There is not a single restaurant in Japan that does not serve beef. And then again, like, because you're dealing with like the language barrier, so no one speaks English anywhere, which is fine. And I'm American. Obviously. We don't belong there. It's fine. And so it was interesting. So you'd get somewhere, and I actually have friends who speak very fluent Japanese, and so they made a note on my phone that I could just present to like servers to say I have a dairy allergy. Right. That helped a lot. But the food, it was just so much beef, like everywhere. A lot of like, I don't know if this is culturally appropriate to say. Excuse me. It's almost like Korean barbecue. When you cook your own food? Right. Like that was everywhere.
I've never been to one, but I know they have like the pot.
Yeah, and you make it, and that's good. It's fine. Like even like when we went to Universal, like we at the City Walk there, they had that, which was really interesting. But yeah, it was just so much beef everywhere. It was beef. Not a lot of chicken.
Not a lot of chicken?
No, I had never had cold ramen before. If you've ever heard of that, it was not something I would get again. It comes out and the ramen, it's like see-through. I ordered it innocently because again, we didn't speak the language. We're looking at pictures, like, and just saying, does this have dairy in it? And they're like, no. And then the picture looked good, so I would get it, which is probably not the best way to order any type of food anywhere. But so there's one day I think we actually went to Fuji as well. We did a day excursion to Mount Fuji, which was so wild. I did not say that earlier. I apologize. But it was so excuse me. It was so interesting though, because that was the day I got this cold ramen, and it literally comes with an ice cube in it. And it was so cold, and like it has like really savory beefy flavor, but it's freezing. And it was just not good.
Interesting.
And I remember I took like probably like 3 to 6 bites, and then I remember I took a break. Then I went to try to eat more, and I was like, I'm good. I think I'm full now. Like this is not.
It wasn't.
It just isn't my jam. Yeah, it wasn't for me.
So I wouldn't think that Japanese food would have dairy, but do they use a lot of dairy?
So like some things do actually have dairy in it. A lot. Like I found like some of the ramens there have dairy in it. Just like butter on like beef, like in meats, like just things like that. Right. There just was like, we went to this place because like, a lot of our trip we planned just from like looking on Instagram. It's amazing, especially with travel influencers, like this stuff, like the different experiences you can find just by scrolling Instagram. And one thing we wanted to do was going to like a fluffy pancake place. Yeah. Which we went to in Tokyo, and it was really unfortunate because all of it had dairy in it. Which that's probably common for like a lot of pancakes. But they did actually have a dairy-free version, so I did get to sample that, which was really nice.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, like, what do they eat for, like, breakfast and stuff
So
like that?
there was some places, and that's so funny you say that. There was some places where you would go and the breakfast menu had beef on it. Like it was like Korean barbecue like style food again. They eat beef for every meal of the day. It's so wild. I've never seen that before in my entire life. It was so.
I feel like that's strange because I would thought Asian was a lot more seafood, chicken, rice, like cabbagey vegetables, bamboo style, like those type of vegetables. I thought it was very healthy. Not to say that lean beef can't be healthy, but overdoing it.
There's a lot of salt in it.
There's a lot of salt. There's a lot of cholesterol and has high trans fat, which will eventually kill you. And I thought
I don't know if they produce it better there in Japan.
Is it grass fed?
That is such a beautiful question that I don't have an answer to. I mean, maybe I'd never seen, like, you would go places everywhere you go is a hero plate. Like, it's literally like, when you go to like a, oh my gosh, like a furniture store and they have the plates with the plastic food on it.
Yeah.
So that is every restaurant in Japan has that. And you look at it and you can see like what the food is. And almost like 9 times out of 10, it was like all beef.
And that's how you pick out what you want?
You can if you want to, which is really funny. When we got there, the first day, the throwaway day, we actually went to like their Disney Springs or like downtown Disney area. And I'll never forget, they had like a Longhorn. Did they have a Longhorn? It was like they had an Outback Steakhouse and they had, oh my gosh, they had something else that was so American. And I remember like being like, are we actually in Japan? Like this is not... It feels so much, but again, we were in that Disney bubble because once we went into like Tokyo, it was very different. It was not like that at all. You were eating, it was just beef and like really, just a lot of meat based stuff.
Oh wow,
sure. Yeah, it was.
I guess they do maybe like the higher protein diets because aren't they typically very thin?
A lot of thin, Japanese people that we saw, very thin. I think, but it's also like their culture is like almost based around like transient systems of a lot of walking, the trains, which are so extreme. Like, and it's funny because one of the guys in our group actually is from Boston. And so he talked about like the trains in Boston are terrible. Like they're late and they're gross and they smell. And like, it's just really a very unpleasant experience. And all of the trains in Japan were just like spotless and like they were always perfectly on time. They were never late. And that was such a very interesting part of it. And actually part of the way we got around, so like how we got to Osaka, how we got to Fuji was by taking their high-speed Shinkansen train system, which is like, it's considered somewhat of a luxury in Japan. And it's so wild because I didn't realize it because you're on the train. It just feels like you're on a train. And then when I got home, my brother was like, we were talking about it. He's like, that's a high speed train. I'm like, it just felt like a train. I guess they go up to like 180 miles per hour. Like it's so fast and it doesn't, I know it doesn't seem, and I remember sitting on it. Like I remember getting up and using the restroom on it, like, and not feeling like we were going that fast. It was so bizarre. I later found out some of the fastest trains in the world are actually in China.
Oh.
Fun facts for anyone who's interested. They're not in Japan. I thought they were in Japan. They're not. But yeah, that was a real interesting part of it too. Very, very wild.
Interesting.
But yeah, the trains, they're just very difficult. Google Maps and Apple Maps, they've got apps where it like shows you what trains you have to take to get somewhere and how they connect and like the times. But even still, like in my group of guys, 2 of them were engineers. And we got lost at least like it's probably like every other train we took. We were lost somewhere in Japan. Yeah. Like actually.
Oh boy. Yeah. Engineers. Figure it out.
I know.
Wow. And is it smoky there?
Do you mean air? Like smog?
Yes.
So I don't know. It was really pretty. Like the air quality was always really nice. I remember like checking the weather app. There, like it was location based on my iPhone, and it always said it was perfect. I think that's like more, and I don't know, but I think that's more common in China.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was Japan or China. And do a lot of people smoke over there?
So not really. There was one thing that was big was like the nightlife was really interesting. Like they had hookah lounges and things similar that, but I never really saw anyone like smoking like it's so funny. Like here in Florida, you see guys vaping or girls, whoever, people vaping, and I did not see that. Not that it's like this bad thing,
right?
But it was just funny. I never saw it in Japan. Actually,
maybe in the hookah lounges. And do they do the same? They have nightclubs and stuff here.
They have nightclubs, and so that is a very odd and interesting part of the experience. So what was so fun? So the last hotel we stayed in was in Tokyo. It was in a area called Shinjuku. And so like during the day, it's just super urban and pretty. And then at night it turns into like this super like adult centric, like clubby, like area of like, like dance clubs and like, adult entertainment clubs, if you catch my drift.
Interesting.
And it was so wild so I remember prior to going on the trip, the friend of mine who made the Japanese thing for me on my phone, the dairy allergy note, he had mentioned like if you're walking down like any street in Tokyo or wherever, and there's someone outside who's like yelling at you or like trying to get you into their club, do not go in their club, because 9 times out of 10, they realize you are a foreigner and they're trying to like extort you for money. Yeah. And so like, it was interesting. We were talking about it and he was saying a friend of his actually went into one of those clubs and they framed him for like some type of crime and they extorted him for like $10,000. It was so crazy because the legal system's so severe there. Like if you get arrested, it's not like here. Like I don't think you get bailed out. I don't know, but I just know it's a lot more intense. And you do not want to even play those games there. And so we were told, like, if anyone tries to get you into a club, you do not ever even think about going into the club. Just walk past it. And so in Shinjuku, the second the night came, there was men standing on. It wasn't even every corner. It was like every other like physical business location. There was a man standing outside trying to get you in their club. It was so wild. And some of them were really persistent. They were really loud. They were crazy. They would yell like really, just obscenities, like come in and check out these big, whats and whatever. And that was actually kind of a turnoff, to be really honest. It got to the point where we didn't really want to go out. We wanted to take taxis out of that area at night because it was so extreme.
Was he saying this to men and women?
Just to us.
Just to
like
men.
To men.
Okay.
Yeah.
And mostly American or
mostly American.
Or people that not from that country. So it could be
like
anyone.
Foreigners, yeah.
Foreigners
to Japan.
Right.
And it was so interesting because a lot of the people doing that job of yelling at people were typically that of American, which was so wild. Like it was so, because I guess like a big part of like that culture is like, not the culture, but I guess like the nightclubs are ran by like
the mafia,
the Yakuza, or like their version of the mafia or
the
like whatever similar.
There.
And so like that's another issue of like something to be mindful of, when you're there. Okay. We did go to one nightclub when we were in Japan. I don't remember the name of it. And it was really wild and it was fun. It was so exciting. They had DJs, like girls singing, whatever.
What type of music do they play?
It's so like it was
techno?
It's like American, like pop, like, but also like dance, house music. Excuse me. And it was so funny because there in that club we saw people getting pickpocketed. Like it was really wild. Like some guy came up to me and he's like whispering my ear in like Japanese. I don't understand a word he's saying. He's kind of like feeling my butt, like trying to get like I'm like, bro, like stay away from me.
That's a good place to wear a body cam.
I know. Oh my gosh. It was so crazy. At one point and it's funny because the second my friends had said they are pickpocketing people, and I just felt it. You could just feel it in the energy of like that. It was so packed. There's people everywhere, which that's a lot of nightclubs in Central Florida. And I don't want to jinx it, but like when I go to clubs here, I never feel that way. I never feel like I'm going to get pickpocketed.
Right.
Like there, it was so extreme. Granted, this isn't like the most incredible, exceptional part of Japan. So like, I'm not trying to, put down the country. It was just this nightclub was really wild.
But then you think like they have to know like that's going on there, and
they have to, and there's no one's like patrolling it,
security to stop it or to make sure like that doesn't happen. So
it was just unfortunate, like that was part of the experience. But I mean, I don't think there's ever a perfect travel experience. Like that's
it's just to be aware.
Yeah,
like you said, somebody told you don't,
my friends
be aware of things like that. That's interesting.
It was really wild. Yeah, it was really wild. it was fun. We had a great time. It was just like very interesting to see that,
Very. Yeah. Well, I guess it's like crimes and stuff like that happen anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just different the way they happen. So, since we have the big drug problem here, is there drug problems there?
So that is such a great question. I personally did not experience anything like that. Like no one, maybe if we would have went into those clubs where the guys were trying to get us in, they might have, tried to give us something.
Right.
But that's such a great question. Excuse me. I don't feel like I saw like drugs. But oddly enough, that does remind me, like going back to the food and the beef. So one thing that's like, I guess legal, I don't know if it's illegal here though. On the menus, you would see horse meat, which was so wild. I've never seen that on a menu before. I had to make a note of that because it was just so, I've never
horse
seen
meat.
Horse
I've
meat,
never seen that. I know there was some talk that Burger King was serving horse meat.
I remember that was like, yeah.
I don't know.
It was definitely talk.
I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if it's like a delicacy or something that I wouldn't want to partake in.
One of the guys I was talking with, so he had gone to Shanghai, I believe Shanghai, some part of China. And when he was there, he didn't realize he actually had, he did eat dog at one point. He did not know.
They always talk about like cats.
It's so crazy, and that's like a
terrible
joke. But
cats.
But he actually ate dog. It was so wild, and he was like, I didn't know until after, and it really kind of took him aback. Like, oh my gosh, like because that's just how they are. Like in that country, they eat those things.
It's like normal to them.
Yeah, and that was like the horse meat in Japan. I was like, wow, that is so different. I don't know if I've ever seen that here in the States, but like, again, I mean, how worldly am I? I don't know. That was just a fact.
I guess it would be normal to them. It's unusual to us.
So unusual to us, yeah.
So that was a lot. You had a good time. Would you go back? That's the number one question.
I think I would. Everyone said, like, when we were planning the trip, like, when you go, you realize all the things you wish you would have planned. Mm-hmm. And then when you leave, you realize for your next trip, all the things you'd want to do. And granted, I don't know if there was like a set list of things I would have liked to have done instead, or maybe wish I also would have done. But I think it was just fun. I think if anything, maybe next time if I went, it wouldn't be so jam packed of like us running from place to place, like catching trains. And
do you think that you needed more time? Like you didn't spend enough time? You needed maybe like a couple extra days?
So I don't know if I could have lasted a few other days. It was so exhausting. It was
exhausting.
It's a lot. Like your body, and that's what's so crazy too, is like it's 13 hours ahead. So like I would call my mom back home at like, so the one night we were going out to the club, I called her, it was like 9:30 there. And it was like 8, I think it was like, it was 8 something.
In the morning?
8 p.m. at night. It was 7 a.m. here. And she's like on her way to work to start the day. And I'm like about to start my night. It was that was the weirdest part of the trip.
Oh, wow.
Your stomach is kind of weird. Like, like your bathroom schedule, everything is
different.
The food's so different. Like those parts you get used to. But I think I'm just such a creature of habit. As much as I love new experiences and new things, like from time to time, I definitely just go back to my old ways. And so like, as far as more time, I don't know if I would have needed that. I think we had the 12 nights. I think that was more than enough.
It's funny. And when you came back, like how long did it take you to get like acclimated?
4 days.
4 days.
4 days. Like that first night I got home and I remember thinking, I'm probably not going to sleep. And cause we landed at like, I didn't get home till like 11:30 from the airport because we were an hour delayed for like storms or something in Nashville. And it was so wild. I remember like I went to like sit on the couch and I'm like, I was just like wide awake. And then I think I slept for like maybe like 3 or 4 hours that first night. And then that whole rest of the week, it was like a fight because like 6 o'clock would come. So I'd go to work. I worked that Tuesday on. I took off that Monday because we came in on a Sunday. I took off Monday to recover and whatever. And those nights after, like I would just like lay there. So I would get home from work and I would fight myself to not go to sleep.
So is that Tuesday when you started your new job?
That was Tuesday when I started my new job.
Oh my God.
So it was so extreme. So it's like I literally am coming back from across the world. I get a single day off and then it's like I'm starting a whole new job. It was so extreme. It was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot.
That's a lot.
It was a lot. It was too much. But I'm here. I'm doing it. I'm 2 weeks in.
So you feel better? Like you feel regulated back on your regular schedule?
Now I feel I'm 100% back
rested.
in. I just, the biggest issue with that was though, like, 6 o'clock would come around and I'd fall asleep and I'd wake up at like 10 p.m. And it's like, I have to now figure out how to go back to sleep and make it till like 6, 7 a.m. the next morning. I can't. And so that was like,
it's just like retraining yourself.
Yeah, you kind of had to do that. And that was like really difficult. And there was like 3 or 4 nights where I kept falling asleep at 6 o'clock. And I kept thinking, oh, I'm just going to take a nap. And then I wake up and it's like 4 hours later. It's like, this is not a nap. Like this is like,
you should have just stayed asleep.
I should have just stayed awake. Yeah. Or that too. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to, I don't know. It's hard. They say I've never traveled like that far. So I don't know. I've never.
Well, you have to.
I know. Yeah. I have to get a passport. So, have you ever been to like any other countries overseas like that far before? Or no?
Like, okay. This was it was funny. I was talking to a friend of mine. Like, I saw Tokyo before I saw New York City. It's so bizarre.
Oh, you've never been to New York
City? I've never been to New York
City,
but I've been to Tokyo. It's really strange. Yeah.
Well, New York City is in the same time zone, so
that's like a lot easier. Like,
you won't, and that's a fun place to see too. And you only need like a couple days there, and it doesn't take you 2 days to get there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, no, that's wild.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
I've never, fun. I don't think, well, I know one other person who's actually lived in Japan, but I don't think I know anybody else who's ever been to Japan.
Yeah.
Because my parents went to China.
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, they went to China and they didn't like it.
Really? Why?
I don't know. I mean, my mom like always wanted to go there, so I'm glad like she got the experience. Yeah, got to go and they walked and she always thought it was so beautiful. But I guess maybe the time of year that they went, it was in May, it wasn't that beautiful. And when she came back, she got really sick. The norovirus, so she wound up in the hospital. And then my son's graduation, and she actually missed it because she was sick.
Oh no!
Yeah, she was
his
really
high school
sick.
Graduation.
Yeah, his high school. Yeah, but I recorded it so they could see it. It wasn't the same as being in person, but I knew because it was just too close to like the planning. But they planned it for a while, and they did a lot of stuff there, and they saw. But they said it was just different. How long were they there? They were there 2 weeks.
Okay, yeah.
So they said like the culture, it was just different. Yeah. And they don't think they would do it again. It was smoky. It wasn't very pretty. But that's why I asked if it was smoggy there.
I've heard that about the Great Wall of China. Like you'll see in pictures and videos, it looks so pretty, like the sky. But when you get there, it's always gray and not very, it's not as scenic. That's what I've been told.
Right. Yeah. And he didn't really like the food. So,
Yeah. I could see that.
It's different. Yeah. So it's just different.
It is. It's a new culture. It was wildly different to say the least. Yeah.
I'm glad you got to do it.
Thank you so much. I'm happy I got to talk about it with you.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us today. Chats with Colleen and Sean, the executive producer. The music is produced by Norma Pacheco, and the music is by Geronic by Lounge Bar. Please be sure to like and subscribe our podcast and our social medias. And our podcasts are produced every other week, so please be sure to tune in and share. And also, if you would like to join us, please reach out. Thank you.